A very good evening to all Kalyana-mitas. Welcome to day 4 of Sutta discussion by Bhante Dr. Gangodawila Maṅgala Sutta. With the blessing from the Chief Reverend Datuk K. Sri Ti-Ratana, Ti-Ratana Vihara Aman Perdana, annually to conduct this Sutta discussion via Zoom, linked to our Ti-Ratana Vihara Aman Perdana Facebook page and YouTube account. I'm Aliana and I will be your moderator tonight. I would like to introduce about our speaker. Bhante Dr. Gangodawila Chandima is the Senior Advisor of Ti-Ratana Canada. It's sponsored by Sister Doreen Wong. Ti-Ratana is a virtual Dharma organization that helps beginner and expert students in learning the Dharma in a variety of ways. You can check on Ti-Ratana with the link www.ti-ratana.blogspot.com. Many people are interested in Dhamma Pariyesana, Ti-Ratana's most acclaimed interview series, which Bhante conducts on a regular basis. In 2015, Bhante Dr. Chandima earned a PhD in Buddhist studies from a University of Sri Jaya Vardenepura in Sri Lanka. From 2012 to 2016, Bhante served as a Theravada Buddhist chaplain in the University of British Columbia, Vancouver, Canada. And in 2016, Bhante was a research fellow in the Center for Studies in Religion and Society of the University of Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Without further ado, Ti-Ratana Vihara Aman Perdana proudly to present Bhante Dr. Chandima. Welcome once again, Bhante. Thank you very much for the talk. Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Aliana, for the introduction. This is the usual introduction that I'm always hearing. It's okay. Folks, so let's start our discussion. So the discussion by paying homage to the Buddha 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Okay. Do we have new folks joining today?
Seems like same class, Bhante.
Same crowd?
Yeah, same crowd.
Already?
Same class, Bhante.
Same crowd. Yeah, same crowd.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, so yeah, another week has passed by, and then we are into the 4th verse of Maṅgala Sutta. And I don't know that how many of you, reflect upon what we've been discussing, learning, every week, because we need to reflect upon and then to this, be self-critical about these verses actually. That is how we can find out deeper meanings of the sutta, and specifically about these Maṅgala, in this case, these Maṅgala blessings. Okay, so I would like to ask somebody to read the stanza. Normally I ask somebody to read. I guess we had Doreen and Aliana read stanzas. If anybody else wants to read the stanza, verse number 4, probably Zita, Marco, you want to try?
Okay, Bhante.
Yeah, verse number 4.
Let me try. Wait, let me check. From
Yeah, verse number
Bahu,
4.
from Bahu Bante?
Yeah.
Okay. Bahu sacanca si panca. Vinayoca susi kito. Subhasita caya waca. Etang manggalamu tamam.
Great. Okay. So
Thank you,
in
Bante.
reading Pali, I think one of the objectives of this discussion is to develop our Pali as well a little bit, to your level, not to be a Pali scholar, right? This is not the place for that. But as a layperson, it is always good to, have an ability to read correct Pali. Sita, you read well, and I think we're going to read too. Bahu Sachang cha Sippancha. Sachang cha Sippancha. Vinayo cha Susikkito. Now, when there is H before any letter, that means that letter has to be stressed. Not Susikkito, Susikkito, Kito. Vinayo cha Susikkito. Then again, you can see H sounding. Subhasita chaya vacha. Subha, not subha. Subhasita chaya vacha. Etam mangala uttama. So that's the, the line that we see in all the stanzas. So I think Aliana shared with us the link that I sent to her about the 38 blessings in numbers. So you know that these are the numbers. So these are the precise name. So as you could see in that document, you can see number 7. So we have done from number 1 to number 6 till last Friday. So from today, we're going to do number 7, 8, 9, 10. That means this stanza includes 4 Maṅgala factors, blessings. So let me break it down this way. Bahu Sachang is 1 blessing. Sippang is 1 blessing. Then there are 2 blessings. Bahu Sachang, Sippang, and then Vinayocha Susikkito is the 3rd blessing. And Subhasita Chayavacha means the 4th blessing. So there are 4 blessings here. Okay. Now, the first blessing here, which is in the stanza 4, and the total number is number 7, is Bahu Sachang. Now, let's figure out the 2 terms separately. Bahu, what is Bahu in Pali? Anybody wants to guess? An educated guess. What is Bahu? The simple meaning of Bahu in Pali. Have you heard this term in other places too? No? Really? Bahung sahasam abhining mitasa yudantang. Have you heard that? Jai Maṅgala Gata. Bahung sahasam abhining mitasa yudantang. Giri mekala. And then there at the beginning of this sutta, Bahu deva manusacha. That is not Bahu actually. Right? It is Bahu. Aliana?
Bahu means many, Bhante.
Yeah, it is many. Yeah, that's the meaning, simple meaning. So I was making everybody curious about this. So then they know separately. Bahu means many or much. Actually, when you say Bahu is many, but Bahu here means much. You can't count it, right? It's unaccountable. Sachang means here
Learning.
knowledge. And that's the ordinary level of Satcha. That means a knowledge. But when you talk about knowledge from a Dhamma view, it is unquestionably the Dhamma, the knowledge of the Dhamma. Okay, but it's not the knowledge. It's not just the knowledge. What is it? Bahusatcha, that means vast knowledge. Now, there are people who only learn couple suttas and couple books, few Dhamma talks of only one monk, two monk. No, we have to get into this, what do you call? This vast knowledge of Dhamma, because everyone has a different approach, right? You may have a favorite person, you may have a favorite book, right? But we have to open up for a repository, kind of a very larger, broader area of Dhamma uh, to feel that we have the vast learning, right? So Bahu Satcha. So now let me share with you the commentarial expression of the idea of Bahu Satcha. Etta Bahu Satchanti Bahussuta Bahu. This is another way of looking at it. Bahussuta Bahu. What is Bahussuta? Bahussuta means well read or well heard. And there was a monk who was, who was I would say, the most well-read monk at the time of the Buddha. Anybody wants to guess? The Buddha actually designated a couple monks to, they are not positions like in today, you are a Mahanayaka, like chief monk, chief prelate. It's not like that. It's like based on the skills and merits, especially about what you could do by merits. Buddha said, this monk, this nun, this layperson, this laywoman is so and so, such and such. So there was a monk who was the top among the well-read. Any guess? Of course, it's very clear. There was a monk who was near the Buddha all the time. He must be the person who heard everything, right? Other monks, they only went to learn. Huh? Who was he?
Ananda.
Yeah.
Sariputta emang. Oh, Ananda.
Anand. Bhante Anand. Sariputta and Maṅgala, although they were the chief disciples, they were living at different places. They are the chief disciples. But the monk called Ananda, he was always near the Buddha because he was the monk who was assisting the Buddha. We call him attendant. That is why he couldn't even attain Nibbana. Now, when you know a lot of Dhamma, you cannot attain Nibbana sometimes. It happens, right? When you know a lot of things, you cannot do a simple thing. I'm not making it funny enough, but sometimes you know a lot of things, you can do even a simple thing, right? So he couldn't attain Nibbana, although he was the one who knew a lot of Dhamma. So the Buddha said he is the chief monk among the well-read ones because he knows everything. Because there was a informal agreement between the Buddha and Bhante Ananda that let's say Bhante Ananda cannot attend him, cannot go with him. Let's say the Buddha goes to a heaven, he can't go, right? He's not that powerful, spiritually powerful to that level. So every time, if Buddha is to teach Dhamma elsewhere, without him, the agreement was upon his arrival at the temple, Buddha has to, repeat what he said to the people, Deva or whoever. So that Bhante Ananda had to, learn a lot of things. Right? Not even he learned, he was able to, memorize. That's why even in the Nikayas, the whole Digha Nikaya was actually, maintained by Bhante Ananda and his disciples. So anyways, he attained Nibbana after the Buddha passed away, after 3 months of the Buddha's passed away. That means there is something very interesting, that he was really with the Dhamma knowledge till the death of the Buddha. So he was not able to practice it. Isn't it correct to say like that? Now he knows all the Dhamma. So now if you think that if you know a lot of Dhamma, then they will attain Nibbana or Sotapanna, that might not be a correct statement with Bhante Ananda's example, because he knew everything. but he didn't have an opportunity to practice them. Right? Now see, Buddha passed away after 3 months, he became enlightened. Right? So when did the Buddha want a monk to attend him? Can you remember that time? When he turned to? When he turned to? 55? Yeah, after 20 years of his Buddhahood, he found out now he needs somebody. At the same time, he also wanted to, I guess, start Vinaya for the monks and nuns. So if you imagine the time from 55 to 80, that means roughly, how many years is that? 25? Yeah, 25 years of time. So Bhante Ananda was near the Buddha. And the other interesting thing is, although you are with somebody who is very spiritual, now he was with the Buddha, but people who come to see the Buddha, they easily get enlightened. They have never seen the Buddha till that time. But Bhante Ananda was around him, but he didn't have a chance to practice it. He was not able to attain Nibbana. But people who come from far, they come and listen to the Buddha and then they attain Nibbana. So I'm trying to bring an example, kind of a different argument here to think about. Like vast knowledge is a Maṅgala factor, is a blessing, but it does not guarantee that you will attain Nibbana. You will fulfill the fruits of the Dhamma. The fruits of the Dhamma is the attaining the Nibbana, attainment of Nibbana. If you think that your knowledge prevents you from practicing it, I don't think it's a good idea. But initially, having a good knowledge of Dhamma is always good. There's no problem, because a lot of people who don't know even some Dhamma, right? Among them, it's a good idea. Now here in the commentary it says, Bahu Satchanti Bahu Sutta Bahu, that means well-readness. Sutta Dharo Hoti Sutta Sannicha, that means somebody who reads a lot. Now, what does it mean by sutta here? Suttang Geyang Viya. Now, here this is a kind of a classification of Dhamma at the Buddha's time. Let me see what I can do for you, if that's going to be a good idea. Because you simply listen to me for this. Sometimes you never know what's going on here. Stuff that I'm reading here. Okay. I'm trying to see the chat box here to everybody. Okay. Something to think about. Huh? Now, in the commentary, it says, now this knowledge. Now, I said to you that knowledge can be normal knowledge about the sciences, humanities. On the other hand, Dhamma knowledge. Now, Dhamma knowledge referred to Navanga Sasana. Navanga Sasana. Now, this is an early classification. This is the earliest, I guess, earliest classification of the Dhamma. Now, here you have an easy classification today. What is that? What's the very usual popular classification of Buddha's Dhamma at this point in today's world? Can you guess? Tipitaka. Tipitaka. Tipitaka classification is a very famous classification in today's world. That means Sutta, Vinaya, Abhidhamma. But even before that, even before this classification was kicked in, that means before the third Sanghayana, third council, that was only Dhamma and Vinaya. Dhamma and Vinaya. But now Tipitaka, because there are some books that were added after the third council. Then what about the Buddha's time? Navanga Sattu Sasana. Now that is this classification. At that time, the Dhamma was classified as Navanga Sattu. That means there were 9 components to the Buddha's teaching. Let's take a look. Navanga Sasana, here the teachings of the Buddha are divided into 9 categories. Let's see what are they. Prose sections. Now Buddha's teachings, you can see in Buddha's teaching, there are prose sections. There are no verses, no stanzas. We call them sutta. Now, when you say sutta, sutta should be prose, in prose. But here you can see a verse in the Maṅgala Sutta. It doesn't then come into the sutta section. It has to be a geya. The second one, you see, the second component is geya. Geya means sermons in which both prose and verse forms are used. That means if you find a sutta which has both the prose and the verse, we call it geya. Then, if you find any teaching in the Buddhist canon which has precisely carrying only the prose, no verse at all, we call it sutta. The clear definition of sutta means there shouldn't have any verse, any stanza. And then if you find the both in mixture, we call them geya. Now, Maṅgala Sutta is a geya, definitely. Third one, vyakarana, explanations in prose expounding the doctrine. Okay. So, there are explanations about something. There are many suttas like that. And then number 4 is gatha, or if you find some teaching, some wherever kind of a topic which has only gatha, only verse, we call it gatha. Now, Maṅgala Sutta is not a gatha, right? Why? Because it has both prose and verse. It is a geya. Number 5 is udana. Udana means the beautiful natural expressions of the arahants, male arahants and female arahants. We call them udana. There is a separate book, separate 2 books. There are separate 2 books in Khuddaka Nikaya. We call them Teragatha, Terigatha. Number 6, iti buttaka. Iti buttaka means there are some of the suttas where you can see, thus spake the Buddha. The Pali we call it Buttang Hetang Bhagavata. In Pali we call it Buttang Hetang Bhagavata. That means thus spoke the Buddha. If you find that statement at the beginning of any sutta, then all those suttas come into this category called number 6, Iti Buttaka. This is one category, one particular book category in the Khuddaka Nikaya also. Number 7, Jataka. Of course, you know what are the Jatakas, the Buddha's past stories when he was a Bodhisattva. There are many stories like that. And then number 8, Abbutta Dhamma. Abbutta Dhamma means all the surprising, marvelous stories of the Buddha, miraculous stories. Anybody wants to discuss something very miraculous of the Buddha? People might say, he's a mythological guy, yeah? He's a mythological person. Let's talk about some of his miracles. Anybody wants to say anything about it? Have you ever found out some of the things in Buddhist history, Buddha's life, or in some of the suttas, that there are things that we cannot understand properly? Seems to be very miraculous, surprising, marvelous. Anybody wants to say anything about it? Any particular place?
He would produce fire and water at the same time.
Fire and water. He is emanating fire and water at the same time from everywhere from his body. What do we call it? It's a miracle. Huh? We have a name for that. What is it? Yamaka Patihariya. Yamaka Patihariya, we call it. Yamaka means dual. Yamaka means dual. Patihariya means the miracle. So he doesn't want to show off anything, but the people at that time, especially in his hometown, they were really not accepting him. So he had to show that, I have something higher than you, right? Otherwise, he didn't want to show anything. So Yamaka, that was a miracle. Something else about his miracles and miraculous mythological. I mean, they are not mythological, but we feel like, how does this happen? We have no probably proper knowledge about it, but we can see that they are in the books. Anyone else?
I think there was a path that he passed by, a murderer that murdered so many people, and Buddha just passed by, and he was chasing him, and he was saying, "No, I'm not running." He turned, who is that person? He's also a arahant. Later, he turned to be, right?
Yeah.
What is his name?
Angulimala.
Angulimala.
Yeah,
Angulimala.
Angulimala. That's right. I find it's miracle because he managed to kill everybody that walked past by and except Buddha.
Because we are looking at that incident from a modern day murderer, right? Criminal who have a gun or whatever. I mean, swords and whatever. The story goes, as you said, Buddha wanted to stop him killing his mother, right? Because the King Kosala said that I'm going to send some special forces to take him down. And then the Buddha knew that. What happened was that the mother knew that they're going to kill him, definitely. So he wanted to go earlier than Angulimala's mother. Then what happened was that Angulimala thought to himself, oh, what a funny day today. 1,000 or whatever, 1,001 finger is going to be coming from a monk who can't even run. Very happy. He was very happy. And then at that point was the incident happened that, hey, monk, stop over there. And he said, I have stopped, but you are the one who's still running. I mean, he was referring to the samsara. So that was a very, difficult moment for us to understand how this happened. But yeah, we can say it's a miracle. What are the other very fundamental miraculous things that we see in the Dhamma? So now somebody said about Yamaka Patihari, a miracle, and Hema, he said about Angulimala's story. What else?
On the water.
Yeah, Lee?
Walking on the water.
Can you talk a little louder?
Walking on the water.
Walking on the water. Okay. I think even modern day folks do that, right? The Jesus did too, right? Walk on water. Anyways, yeah, I mean, he did that too. It's a part of the Iddhivida Jnana, levitation. So he doesn't need to pass the immigration if he had to leave today, just, go to another country without clearing immigration. Probably it's a bad idea, right? You get you get arrested if you do so. Yeah, power of the levitation. What are the other nice, historical points where we find his miracles? Remember one sutta called Acharya Abhuta Dhamma Sutta. The sutta goes by Abhuta Dhamma too. It is said that when the Bodhisattva is born into his last life, let me check that sutta's number, Maṅgala Sutta, on internet, Majjhima Nikaya, Acharya Abhuta Dhamma Sutta. Okay, that's gonna be Majjhima Nikaya 123. See, MN 123. Can check that later. So in this sutta, it says there are many things happen when the Bodhisattva is going to be taking his last birth. That means it's going to be the Buddha. Where does he normally come from to the last life? Where is normally a Bodhisattva is going to be reborn just before his Buddha's life? Let's say now, in this case, Shakyamuni Bodhisattva, he is going to be reborn as a human, but just before his human birth, last birth, where are normally all the Bodhisattvas supposed to be reborn?
Tusita heaven.
Tusita. I can hear my voice back, probably it's kind of echoing somewhere. I don't know. Somebody has probably turned up the volume. It's good. It's gonna be a miracle too at some point. Anyways, so there are things happen. One very interesting thing that happens at the time of his birth is that Bodhisattvas are taking their in this case, the Bodhisattva is taking his final birth in his mother's womb, being mindful. I will tell you the difference here. There are folks, when they are mindful at the time of the conception. During the time of the mother's womb, probably 9 months. Of course, we are not going to be in a mother's womb for 9 months. That's a lie. You can ask anybody. It's gonna be lesser than that time. The only one person who's gonna be in mother's womb for we call it 10 months, right? What's that time duration? How do you call that time duration? 9 months, okay? 9 months. It's gonna be only a bodhisattva. Other folks, they come earlier than that time. That's one miracle. But here, the bodhisattvas, they are conceived being mindful. What does it mean? Bodhisattva knows that where they are going to be. And the time that they spend inside mother's womb, they're going to be mindful too. They know what they are doing. At the time of their delivery too, they are mindful. So if there is mindfulness that happens to anybody at the time of conception, during the time of the pregnancy, and then delivering time, that means they are bodhisattvas, samma sambuddhas. And there are other folks who are going to be mindful at the conception, and mindful then again at the time of their time that they are living in the mother's womb, but they are not mindful at the time of the delivery. Who are they? Interesting, huh? Pacceka Buddhas. Pacceka Buddhas are not mindful at the time of their delivery. And the other folks, there are another group of folks, they are conceived mindfully, but they are not mindful at the time of their time in mother's womb. And also they are not mindful at the time of delivery. Who are they here? Huh?
Is it human being?
No. They are the 80
Because
great arahants. We call them, there are 80 great arahants, not the normal arahants. So those folks, they are mindful only at the time of the conception, but not at the time of the time in the mother's womb and at the time of the delivery. And there are other folks, only there are 80 great arahants. That means there are special 80 arahants. Not everybody, not every normal arahants are like that. And there are another group of people who are going to be, taking, I would say, conceived without mindfulness, and then living in mother's womb without mindfulness, and then being delivered without mindfulness. They are the ones. Humans. Humans are not mindful at any point. That's why we don't know what happened to us. Probably we have a kind of a linear idea about, okay, I had some pain when I don't know. I mean, anybody has that kind of a thought. So, Sato Sampajano, this is the Pali word in the Sutta, Charyabuddhama Sutta. So the fact that bodhisattvas are reborn for their last life with mindfulness, conceived, spending time in mother's womb with mindfulness, conceived with mindfulness, and being delivered with mindfulness, that's a miracle. That's a miracle. I mean, you can't have any thought about it. I mean, how do we see that? And how do we come out? How does a baby come out? Is a baby coming out from the head area or from the bottom area? How is the normal perception for that? Which size of the baby is coming out for the first? Interesting.
The head.
Head. But the bodhisattva's head is not coming. He's not coming out from the head. His legs are coming out for the first.
Come out from the leg because
yes.
the neck
because
cannot move.
Yeah, he's getting delivered just as he was positioned inside mother's womb. That's a miracle too. This is another miracle. And nobody can touch him at the time of the delivery. Only the 4 great devas can touch him. They are the ones who are receiving him. Virupakka, Viruda, Dattaratta, and who's the other one? Dattaratta, Viruda, Virupakka. Who's the other one? The 4 great kings, the Chatu Maharaj. They are the ones who are receiving him. Once he was delivered, he is going to walk. This is not happening to everybody. He's going to walk. And he's going to say, Aggo hamasmi lokassa, jetto hamasmi lokassa, setto hamasmi lokassa, I am antima jati atidani puna. I am the greatest. I am the most superior person. I will not take rebirth again. Oh, wonderful. Who's going to talk like that? Right? He's talking like that. There are only two stories where we find he talked right after he was born. One is the Ummagga Jataka, and the other one is his last life. If you can remember Ummagga Jataka, he was actually given to birth by mother, and then right after he was reborn, he was sort of keeping something without mother's notice. And mother was asking, what is this in your hand? He said, you don't want to know that now. This is a panacea, medication for every disease. Then he talked to mother at that point. That means in Ummagga Jataka story, he talks, the Bodhisattva. But normally, when a Bodhisattva is reborn, he talks. Only the Devas can receive, not only the normal Devas, we call them Chatu Maharajika Devas. And he is reborn with mindfulness. And then what else? His position is other way around than a normal baby is coming up. So there are many such miracles, right? So now see where we left up here, Abhuta Dhamma. So there are Abhuta Dhamma teachings in the doctrine. So we put all them under number 8, narration of miracles, Abhuta Dhamma. Number 9 is Vedalla, Q&As. In many suttas, you find Q&As, discourses consisting of teachings in the form of questions and answers, right? Can anybody tell us any sutta where you found out Vedalla type of teachings? The word itself has many suttas. Chula Vedalla Sutta, Maha Vedalla Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. So Vedalla type teachings. There are many conversational type, Q&A type teachings like Samyutta Nikaya, kings came to see the Buddha and asked questions. The Buddha taught Dhamma to them, and then Brahmins came and a lot of such discussion. Now the point here is that Bahu Satcha in this context has two ideas. One idea is if you are a lay person, let's take the secular side of the knowledge. Let's say you are an engineer, you are a doctor, you are a professor, you are a lawyer, you are a business person. So you have your own knowledge about it, right? You may be like ranging from, one or the other, probably from one person to the other person, but you have a certain knowledge. Let's say you are a good business person, you know the tricks, you know the hacks, everything, right? You know how to do it. If you are somebody who is a good environmentalist, human rights activist, you know what you could do with that knowledge. So that is what we have to understand with Bahu Satcha at the secular level. But the spiritual level, it's the Dhamma. Dhamma, that means this Dhamma knowledge. So that is a Maṅgala thing. So, which means learning, I would say having a knowledge of Dhamma is always a blessing, right? Bahu Satcha. Then let's go to this, the other. Now it's going to be number 8 from the whole sutta. Blessing number 8. That means Sippancha. Bahu Satcha means one blessing. That's number 7. And Sippancha. What is Sippancha? Sippancha means, what is Sippancha? Sippanti yankinchi hatta kosalla. This means, what is Sippancha?
A skill or vocation?
Skills. We could say they are skills. Right?
Skills, huh?
So when you say skills, is it a broad area or like a very narrow area? Skills.
Broad, big,
It's a very broad area. Now let's start from the life skills before we talk about other skills. What are the life skills? Some folks. That means everyone need to, develop in our own way, probably depending on the cultures, countries, wherever we live. right? If you're living in a country where there are a lot of earthquakes, then we should be skilled enough to evacuate and then to get ready for whatever thing. But let's talk about general life skills. Being able to
survival skill.
being able to survive. But some people
Survive.
actually interpret this in a wrong way. I have to survive doing whatever I want, whatever I can. And there is this moral component that has to be added. Can you name some of the life skills that you know, probably in your own life?
Cooking skill.
Sorry?
Cook. How to cook.
Cooking. Yeah, cooking is a life skill.
I think
cooking.
important is the skill of communication.
Skill of, yeah, communication is a greater skill. Yeah, cooking also is also a skill at a time that you can't, you know, go and dine in a restaurant. It's too expensive, right? Go cook something, right? What else? Cooking and then communication. That's a great skill. Others?
Making a cloth for wearing the main shirt.
Oh yeah, that means
Still-
how do you take it? That means being able to
Sewing skills.
Sorry.
sewing
Tailoring,
skills. Yeah.
tailoring.
Tailoring, whatever. Tailoring, I would say sewing skills. You don't need to go and, you know, get it done by somebody who is charging a lot. Others, I want you to answer to this very simple question.
Survival.
What are the life skills that you think that I mean that you consider?
Make a shelter for ourselves.
Huh?
Shelter, house. Last time, shelter. I mean, making a home, house,
Making a home.
place to stay.
When you don't have a home, you don't have a good, I would say, you don't have this pleasant feeling, right? You are not, you know, you don't own a place to live, right? So this feeling of owning a place, possibly in your own way. Remember that Goenka story, and I remember Goenka's books. They are interesting, Vipassana meditation retreats, and he has a book where he talks about life skills. One story I can
Living
remember.
skills.
There was a ship that many people are now riding the ship, and there were some professors, engineers, you know, all these folks. They are, you know, they are cruising in this ship. And then time to time, the professor, probably some engineers, they get into the, I probably think the cell of the person who is actually riding this, sailing this, and asking different questions. Do you know the geography? The person who is riding this, who's actually running this ship, said that, I don't know, I have no idea. Oh, that's the science of, what do you call, what's the geography? The science of what do you call, what's a proper way of saying about geography? Understanding different things in the world, right? And then somebody's asking from, I think the same professor, asking about different other questions. Do you know about natural sciences? Do you know about this and that? So he has an answer, but the person who is actually sailing this has no idea about it. After some time of traveling this cruise, how do you call that person who is actually, you know, taking care of the ship or the cruise? Shipman?
The crew.
The crew. Who is actually doing the bigger part of the
Captain.
The
the
captain.
captain. Oh, sorry, the captain. And the captain said, now there is something happening here. So this is the thing that's going to happen to all of us. And then the professor didn't have any idea. He asked, what's going on here? Then the captain asked him, do you know the swimology? What is that? Being able to swim in the ocean. If you don't have that life skill, are we all going to die here, right? If you know how to swim, you will survive. That means swimming is a life skill too, right? So there are a lot of life skills. So here, Sippang means not only the skills, but also the life skills. What are the other skills? Different skills about some trades, right? You may be an engineer, you may be a carpenter, you may be a handyman, you can be this and that, right? And the other thing is that if you know certain skills, you can land on a job very easily. Now we have this misperception that we have to carry only one thing, but we have to always go with skills too, knowledge and skills. That's why we call the Buddha Vijja Charana, knowledge and practice, right? That's why a student is having an internship. Call them, they're having an internship with the education, knowledge and the skill. So Sippa means then skills. It can come from different ranges. Let's take a look at of the commentary and how does it say about it. That means different skills, different including life skills. Third blessing here in the stanza, it's going to be blessing number 9. That is Vinayocha Susikkito. Vinayocha Susikkito. What is Vinaya? Susikkito Vinaya. Susikkito means highly trained. Susikkito means highly trained. Vinayo means discipline. Is Vinaya a big part of our life, even in the Dhamma?
Yes. Yes.
How do we understand Vinaya part of the Dhamma, Vinaya part of the doctrine of the Buddha?
Vinaya is normally about the rules and regulation, is it?
Rules and regulation. It is not only that, because rules and regulations are changed time to time, right? Because depending on the situations, we have like common rules, but others, small things, they get changed. You know, this topic is very interesting because at the time of the Buddha, even the monks, they're trying to be a part of two groups. One group is only carrying the Dhamma, the other group is carrying Vinaya. Because they thought, see, Buddha didn't like this idea, you know, you have to balance out. Because Vinaya comes in to a level where you want to practice Dhamma. Without Dhamma, the Vinaya doesn't work very well, right? You practice Vinaya to, I would say, to understand Dhamma. So what happened at a certain time was that the Buddha was living in a temple called Goshitarama, Kosambi. The two groups, they were having an argument. What was the argument? Should we leave the water in the bucket in the toilet or not? I mean, it's a bad argument, you know. Some argue that we have to leave some water in the bucket. Some others argue we should not leave. That's the role of the person who is going in there. So Buddha said, this is a very bad argument. Just drop this idea. You know, if you want to keep it, you keep it. If you don't want to keep it, you come out of the washroom. Right? And the monks didn't listen to him. See, even the monks at the time of the Buddha didn't listen to him at certain point. Because they were really, I would say, confused. And then so much, I would say, into the dictates, views. And then Buddha could not control them. And Buddha had to leave the temple. Why he left the temple? He wanted to stop people offering dana. And then people stopped offering dana also. He went to Parileya. Parileya, there's a specific, forest where he was attended by an elephant called Parileya and a monkey. And then the monks and then these devotees came to see him and they said, now we are settled. We don't have any problem in the washroom, right? So I can't remember exactly who said to keep some water, who said not to keep water. So one or the other represent Dhamma people and the Vinaya monks, Dhamma monks, Vinaya. That means people always get confused with these two ideas. So my idea too is that we need Vinaya to practice the Dhamma. Without the Dhamma, the kind of Vinaya that you want to practice doesn't make any sense. So what is basically Vinaya? That Vinaya means simply our discipline. We all should have a good discipline, right? Now here in the commentary, it says there are two types of Vinaya, Agarika Vinaya, Anagarika Vinaya. Agarika Vinaya means the Vinaya that is relevant to the lay people. What is it? Tatta Agarika Vinayo Nama Dasa Akusala Kammapata Viramana. What is it? That means the Vinaya for you, lay people, is to keep away from the 10 Akusala. I think I already shared this thing, and Aliana, I think she shared a link for knowing these 10, right? So as a layperson, you should go beyond the 5 precepts. Now the 5 precept is a very simple disciplinary teaching. It was actually existed even before the Buddha. But if you really follow the Buddhist teachings, then your Vinaya is 10 Kusala. If you practice 10 Kusala, that means you are not practicing 10 Akusala. What about the monks? Monks and nuns, they have more than the 10 Kusala. They have their own Vinaya rules. They practice them according to the time. Okay, so that is Vinaya. Vinaya Sikkita. We should be disciplined. Now, we all like to see people who are very disciplined, but not too much conservative and then too much, coarse, rough about the rules. There are people who are very rough. They will face situations like what happened to a very funny guy here in Sri Lankan history. There was a story, one famous teacher. This is kind of a folk story. I don't know whether it was real or not. He said to his disciples, you know what? Never ever do anything without looking at this book about the situation. So this book has all the situations. Always follow the rules there. And in case of emergency, about these different emergencies, look at this book. And one day they were actually crossing a footbridge and the water was really high. And then this teacher fell down to one side of the footbridge. And then 5 others, he had 7 disciples actually, main 7 disciples. 6 of them said, you know what? We have to follow the book now. Bring in the book. What do we do? What are we supposed to do when our teacher falls onto a river from a footbridge? Not to the river actually, from a footbridge. And then now the teacher is asking help. Hey, help me. No, we cannot help you. We have to read the book and see where's the rule. And it says he died, right? Sometimes we have to find out our smartness. We have to find out our own, this smart thinking. Yeah, of course, we have to respect the Vinaya and the rules, but there are times we have to work with our smart thinking. Otherwise, we will be in issues, right? There are so many such examples in Buddhist stories, cultural stories, and even the Zen stories. So, so that means that we have to understand the Vinaya in a way how things properly work, how things work smoothly. Otherwise, Vinaya will destroy our life, right? Always keep Vinaya as a framework. Don't think Vinaya is the only thing that we have, right? And remember the Zen story. I mean, don't take it in a bad way. There were 2 monks, the old monk and the young monk. They were actually going somewhere. One of the famous stories. And a woman is going to die in a river, right? She's asking help me. And then, okay, we are monks, we cannot help you, right? Because you cannot touch a woman, right? And the young monk, he jumped into the river and he rescued the woman. She's a young lady. And then he just helped. And then now they started going, I mean, the old monk and senior monk and the young monk, they start The old monk's face is not happy. After some time, he asked, what's wrong with you? And he said, you know what, you did something wrong today. You broke a Vinaya rule. What's it? Because you jump into the river and then touch that woman. And then the young monk said, yeah, I did that, but I'm not carrying her now. You are still carrying her. I jumped, I helped, that's it. I have nothing in my mind, but you are still carrying. Quite interesting, right? I mean, we're not saying that monks should do that. This is a very rare situation. I mean, not even a woman, but also a man. Just because you practice Vinaya, if you don't help somebody who really needs, that's pretty bad, right? I mean, even a normal person who does not know any Vinaya can help. That's why our Vinaya has to be very practical. If it is too rough, too tense, then we suffer, we struggle within us, right? I'm not saying to change, but practice it with the time, place, common sense. So then it is always good to have a disciplined life. That's a Maṅgala factor. Vinaya Susikkita. The last Maṅgala factor is Subhasita cha Yavacha. This is, of course, about the words, speech. What is it? Subhasita, the Suttu Bhasita, that means Subhasita Vacha Nama, Musavada di dosa virahita. Chatuhi Vikkave Angehi Samannagato Vacha Subhas. That means speech that is out of 4 bad speech. I think I already discussed with you, not lying, not carrying tales, not talking behind the back, and not using bad words, and then not gossiping. So if your speech is out of these 4, that is what we call by Subhasita cha Yavacha. Can people always speak good words? Is it easy? Any thoughts? Because every day we are spending our day with our people. You are living with your family, friends, work people, right? Can you think that you can always talk to them very nice, polite, not be mean to them? Or you justify yourself, no, today I had to say something to her. I had to say something to him. He did a bad thing to me. He talked to me like that, so I cannot talk to him nice. I cannot talk to her nice. So what's the situation here? I mean, is it very easy for us to maintain our good speech on a daily basis? Or we just because we study here and then we forget it in our normal life, that doesn't make any sense, right? So is it very easy? I mean, practically easy for us to practice the good speech? If so, that is a Maṅgala. If not, it's not a Maṅgala, our Maṅgala. I mean, is it easy? Is it practical? Huh?
No, not easy, Bhante, but practice.
Yeah. Why is it not very easy? Is it because we don't know whether this is bad speech or good speech? Or is it because our connections to those people and we cannot handle these connections in our own emotions, with our emotions? So we are trying to hit back or something. Why is it very, I mean, we should not say is it very difficult. Why is it difficult at times to keep our good speech with the people? Let's talk about our friends and families. There are people who talk to others very nice, but when he or she talks to their family and friends, they're very mean. There are such folks too. I don't know why. Why is it? That means reputation matters in handling good speech to some, actually. Why it is not easy for some, I respect there are people who maintain that too, right? We should not say anything about them. I mean, why is it difficult for many to maintain their good speech, especially with their loved ones, close ones? Does this silence mean I have to think that you all have good speech with your friends and families? Is that what you say? What you show me?
Bhante, I think especially with the children or
Children.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially as a father, want to show want to teach them or see some behavior. Then we are
So-
thinking much.
So at that point, especially when you talk about children, sometimes you are not angry, but you feel that you want to tell something to them, otherwise they will be misled
yes.
later on, right? So you have a good intention, right? I mean, but don't take it wrong. There are some folks who are trying to cane them and hit them. So that's pretty bad, actually. No, we shouldn't do that. I mean, probably kind of an advice idea, without hurting them. That's a good way, right? So, but the problem is, I remember one incident when I was in Vancouver. I was giving a talk about from Maṅgala Sutta. I said, the Bhutas here. What's that part in the Maṅgala Sutta? Bhutava sambhave siva sabbe satta bhavantu. I was actually explaining to them about it was a big event. And then after the event finished, there was a child came to me and asked me, called Hamdurwo, right? Hamdurwo, Sinhala, Bhante. You know what? My father called me Bhuta to me. Really? Is that the Bhuta you talk in the talk? I said, no. Because he said, in Sri Lankan language, Bhuta means somebody like a crazy guy, a crazy person. You are a Bhuta, right? But Bhuta means everybody who is already born but not yet died. I said, really? Then I'm good. I'm a Bhuta, yeah. I said, probably your father might have meant something else, right? So probably the way, I mean, if you have a good relationship with your kids, children, I don't think you need to raise your voice and then, but there are a lot of parents who don't think they can handle their kids. So they want to tap into a different self when they want to talk to their children. You have to do like this and that. And you are showing a different, like a look to them, kind of a self. Somebody sent something here. Has attachments with close family members. So that's a good point. So high expectations from them, giving them strict enforcement within family members. So high expectations. We have high expectations from most of the people have from others that they helpful, right? If I provide you the food, if I pay the bill, then you have to be like this, you have to be like this, all these kind of stuff come on, kick in, right? So anyways, if we follow the good speech, depending on where we are, then that's a blessing. Remember a day where you went so crazy, so mad by saying all the bad words to the close people, loved ones. Were you really happy after that? Were you really happy? And you are burning within you, and you are making others to burn too. So you are setting fire on two people, you and the other people, right? That's why we always have to think, okay, is this the best way to handle this situation, right? Take a moment, take a deep breath and see, what should I do? And then to manage the situation rather than just saying, okay, you are so and so. So anyways, so what we discussed today is another 4 blessings. Bahu Satcha means 1 blessing. Sippang is 1 blessing. Vinayocha Susikito is the 3rd blessing. Subhasitacha Yavacha means the 4th blessing. So let's identify them one more time. Bahu Satchancha means learning anything in what I would say in a lot of places, let's say vast learning or well-readness. And Sippancha means having skills, knowing the life skills and other skills. Vinayocha Susikito is having a discipline where you are highly trained for that. Subhasitacha Vacha means, Vacha means speech, Subhasita means pleasant speech. So having this pleasant speech all the time. So these 4 are blessings. Now, speech has to be pleasant all the time, right? It has to be pleasant. So if it is not pleasant, it's not going to be a good thing. Even animals can sense that, actually. If you talk to them like unpleasant, they know that you're talking to them in a different tone. They understand. That's why whenever you don't know the animal, you just go to another person's house, and the animal, the pet in that house, comes closer to you and then being very friendly with you, because she can feel about you, actually, your tone, your whole aura, actually, he can feel, right? Anyways, so these are the four blessings that we discussed today. Any questions? Any questions for today's discussion? If not, we can go to the transference of merits. Any questions for today's session and for the previous sessions? We'll take one more minute. Okay, there is one question came in here. Does monks always have those blessings? What do you think, that the blessings are automatic or not? Blessings are not automatic. If they practice a life that is similar to the blessings, yes. I mean, of course, if you take a look at these blessings that we discussed today, Bahu Satcha, so they are supposed to learn. Sippa means they have skills in their monk life. Vinayota Susikkito, definitely they have a discipline. Subhasitatiya Vacha, they are supposed to speak good words. So they have blessings. But there are other blessings where they are not a part of the secular life. Now, if you take a look at the next verse, there is what you call by taking care of a family. It's a blessing, but that doesn't count a monk or nun. They don't have a family, right? Only so there are blessings. Now, these 38 blessings work differently, but many blessings work for everybody, but some blessings work differently. So taking care of a family is a blessing too. You cannot say they always have those blessings. It depends. So if you can take care of you, definitely, and develop those skills, then they have blessings. Sita, is that your mother?
Yes,
Oh, great.
Bhante.
Good to see you.
Yeah, Bhante.
In the meantime, Aliana, do we have a sponsor for today's discussion? I hope no. Okay, great. Just want to be.
Bhante, good evening.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask, this Bahu Sanchara is about vast learning or having knowledge. Is it specifically to Dharma, or is it vast learning in different vocation, or different vast learning into different type of skill? What does it, is it specifically for Dharma or generally for all, as a lay person?
It is the both. Now, if you are lay people, you certainly need to do a job. So definitely you need to have a certain knowledge of something. We call them an expert, right? Let's say if you are a person who is doing well, that means you are an expert on that subject. That means you have read a lot, right? Even if you take any subject, right? But here, the specific idea of Bahu Satcha means knowing the Dhamma. That's the great title, what you call the higher idea, higher meaning of Bahu Satcha. But it also has that secular normal people's idea too, normal people's job idea, I mean their life idea too. It has the both. So you need to do the both. But of course, as people who learn Dhamma, definitely we have to get into Dhamma. But if you only learn the Dhamma and if you just avoid the normal knowledge, that's also not a good thing, right? So you have to update. And the knowledge has to be updated, right? Otherwise, it will be, what do you call, stale and not working well. So that's why you have to look at the both sides, the secular knowledge and then the Dhamma knowledge. So having this vast knowledge about the two is a blessing. But of course, Dhamma knowledge is the emphasis, stress, but it also means the expert knowledge about your own subject.
Thank you, Bhante. In addition to this vast learning, how about being a homemaker with multitasks? Do we classify under this?
A good question. Now, multitasking is a very, I would say, very popular thing that we all have to do now, like a computer. You have to cook, you have to do this thing, clean the house.
Yeah.
So everything is multitasking. Even all the gadgets are doing, they are the ones who are teaching us to multitask. There is a virus guard running, there is an app running, many things are happening at the same time. Although we are supposed to live according to the time, I mean, this is the practical way to look at it. That means we have to multitask. But when it comes to our life, we have to be always focusing on one thing at one time. So I would say then you have to be a unitasker. Our idea is to be a unitasker, although we have to work with multitasking stuff. When you come to Dhamma, that means you have to focus on something in particular, but with other things. Now, for example, people who meditate, sometimes they forget about the other complementary practices. Let's say Sila, Samadhi, Panya, they all go at the same time, right? Or Dana, Sila, Bhavana. So the people who only want to unitask, they only do one thing. They forget the other ones. So that's why it is said that multitasking is important. But when you live in your life, even you multitask. Now, what's happening with multitasking? Let's say you are cooking, you are sweeping the floor, you are preparing something. So you are doing something in that moment. So do that well. You might switch on to the other particular task. That is multitasking. So do the particular activity that you are engaged with very well. Because we are supposed to multitask. But there are people who multitask and have no knowledge of anything, like a jack of all trades. That's not a good idea, right? So when you want to practice dana, you also practice meditation, you listen to the Dhamma. So do everything without messing up, without confusing each thing. So multitasking is something that we're supposed to do. There's no harm for that. But when you multitask, don't forget to do one thing at one time very well, right? Do one thing at one time very well. You may have to switch on to the other thing in the next moment. So let's say if I look at somebody's routine like this, okay, I see she like switches from this to that. Yeah, but I understand she does one thing at one time very well and then switches on to the other. That's the practice.
Thank you, Bhante. Very true. Thank you.
Any more questions, Dhamma folks? If not, we can transfer the merits. Okay, we have a question here. Some monks are living, these questions are focused at monks. Some monks are living in a conflict country. So is it not a good blessing Well, I mean, if you, regardless you are a monk or not, if you're living in a war-torn zones, I mean, countries where a lot of problems happen, it's not a blessing, right? They always have to be a part of that politics and that movement. So it's not a blessing, definitely. Okay, so let's transfer good karmas to departed people and the Devas, Nagas, Mahitikas, and then finalize. May all the good karmas that we've been accumulating in all these ways be transferred to all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of us. May all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of us be able to receive all these good karmas. If they are reborn in a bad state of life, may they be able to switch onto a better life. If they are already reborn into a better life, may they be able to use this good karmas to improve their life. And then to practice the Dhamma, and then finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's recite the stanza. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. Idam me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. Also, we're going to share all the good karmas with the Devas, Nagas, and all the powerful other beings. We call them Mahitikas. May all the good karmas be shared by all the Devas, Nagas, and Mahitikas, and may they protect everybody of you, all the participants who've been here, at the same time others, your family members, your children, parents, brothers and sisters, everybody, including venerable monks. May all they be protected and blessed by the Devas, Nagas, and Mahitikas. May they bless you and them all the good things, good health, quality of life, all the prosperity. Finally, may all the Devas, Nagas, and Mahitikas also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Aka sattha cha bummattha deva naga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhang tuluka sasanang. Aka sattha cha bummattha deva naga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhang tulisanang. Aka sattha cha bummattha deva naga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhang tumang paranti. Finally, let's make our great wish that we've been already almost every day we're doing that. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating throughout our time today be helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. By the power of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, may all your sufferings go away. May all your fears go away. May all your sicknesses go away. May you all be safe, comfortable, and peaceful. With that in mind, with those blessings in your mind, I'm going to bless you with a couple more stanzas. Please receive the blessings. Abhivadana Silis Nichang Vadha Pachayino Chattaru Dhamma Vadhanti Ayuvano Sukhang Balang Ayurarugya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Nivache Atu Nibbana Sampatti Iminate Saminchaku. Sadhu, sadhu. I wish you a good night till we see next Friday.
Thank you, Bhante, Sadhu. Thank you.
Sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Sadhu. Good
Thank
night.
you, Bhante. Yeah,
Good night,
good night,
Bhante.
Bhante. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Bhante, for the wonderful talk. Hope that everyone has a wonderful Sutta discussion and happy learning. Don't forget to join our next Sutta discussion every Friday evening. See you all again. Thank you very much. Sadhu.
Thank
Sadhu.
you,
Sadhu.
Ayana. Thank you,
Thank you,
Lisa.
Sister Elena.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.